What we're going to take a look at next is factoring trinomials with a number other than 1 as the coefficient of x squared by using a grouping process. To do this, we start by taking the coefficient of x squared and multiplying it by the constant term. If we're beginning with 6x squared minus 13x plus 6, we would start by multiplying our first coefficient of 6 times our constant term of 6. 6 times 6 gives us 36. Now what we want to do is figure out what we can multiply to get that number that adds up to our middle coefficient, in this case a minus 13. So let's see, for 36 there's several possibilities. It's 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, or 6 and 6. Because it's a positive 36, we know our results need to be both positive or both negative. Since we're trying to add up to something negative, we know they would have to be both negative. So if we check these pairs where they're both negative, looking for the one that adds up to a minus 13, it would be a minus 4 and a minus 9. Now what we do is we're going to rewrite our problem. We leave our first term alone. We're going to replace that middle minus 13x using the coefficients that we've just found. We're going to make it minus 4x minus 9x. And then we leave our last term alone as a plus 6. Now that we've done that, we're going to factor it by grouping. We'll group our first two terms together, 6x squared minus 4x, and we'll group our second terms together, negative 9x plus 6. From 6x squared minus 4x, we could factor out a 2x, and we would be left with 6x squared divided by 2x is 3x, minus 4x. When we factor out a 2x, we'd be left with a minus 2. Our next group starts with a minus, so we'll factor out something negative. From 9x and 6, we can factor out a 3. Negative 9x, when we factor out a negative 3, we'd be left with 3x. From 6, when we factor out a negative 3, we'd be left with a negative 2. Now we can see that we have that 3x minus 2 parentheses in both parts. From the first portion, we're left with a 2x. From the next portion, we're left with a minus 3. So 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 3 is our result. So you notice this is going to take a few steps. Even once you get used to it, this process will take a couple of minutes to work through. The advantage to the step-by-step process in comparison with guessing and checking is that it's going to take the same amount of steps every time. There's not going to be any problems where it takes forever. There's not going to be any problems where it's super quick. It's going to be more consistent. It's going to take the same steps on every problem, just with slightly different numbers. So let's take a look at another example and go through this process. Here we start with 12x squared plus 28x minus 5. So to begin the problem, we take our first coefficient and multiply it by our constant term. 12 times negative 5, we get a negative 60. Now we need to think of multiplying to be negative 60 and adding up to a positive 28. Since it's a negative 60, we know one number in our pair will need to be a negative. 1 and 60, making one of those negative is not going to help us. 2 times 30, well here, this is actually going to work. If we make the 2 negative, negative 2 times 30 is negative 60 that we're looking for. Negative 2 plus 30 is the positive 28 we're looking for. So we leave the 12x squared alone. We replace the plus 28x using those two coefficients that we've just found. And that gives us minus 2x plus 30x. And then we have a minus 5 at the end. Now we'll factor by grouping. We'll group 12x squared minus 2x together, 30x minus 5 together. From 12x squared minus 2x, we can factor out a 2x from both of those terms. 12x squared, if we factor out 2x, we're left with 6x. Minus 2x, if we factor out a 2x, we're left with a minus 1. Our next group starts with a plus, so we'll factor out a plus. From 30x minus 5, we can factor out 5. 30x, when we factor out a 5, we're left with 6x. Minus 5, when we factor out a 5, we're left with a minus 1. Now we notice there's a 6x minus 1 parentheses in both parts. Left over from the first portion, we have 2x. Left over from the next portion, we have plus 5. So 6x minus 1 times 2x plus 5 is our answer. Notice that took the same number of steps as our previous problem. If you'd like to try the next problem on your own, pause the video now and resume when you're ready to see the solution. So here we would begin multiplying 6 times 2, which gives us 12. To multiply to be a positive 12 and add up to a negative 7, we would need a negative 3 and a negative 4. So we rewrite our original problem as 6x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 2. And we group the first two terms together, 6x squared minus 3x, and the second terms, negative 4x plus 2. From 6x squared minus 3x, we can factor out a 3x, and we would be left with 2x minus 1. Our next group starts with a negative, so we'll factor out a negative, and in this case we'll factor out a negative 2, which would leave us with, from that group, 2x. Negative 4x divided by negative 2 is a positive 2x. And then 2 divided by negative 2 is a minus 1. So we have a 2x minus 1 parentheses in both parts. From the first portion, we're left with 3x. From the second portion, we're left with a minus 2.